Hey y'all, Allison here.
Hey, it's Unclaimed Demigod.
Wow, we're doing a collab. First collab, yay!
You feel so close to me right now.
We are close through the bond of Rick Riordan books. We're going to be doing 2 videos. The first one here is going to be going on this here channel. It's a godly tier list, godly parent tier list. We're also going to be doing a video on Unclaimed Demigod, where we're going to be doing Would You Rather Percy Jackson edition.
Yes, indeed. I am very excited about that.
So, without any further ado, let's get startio-roo. I always say that ironically because I just think it's like the dumbest way to start a video.
It's a great way. I loved it.
What we have here first, we got Zeus, our old boy Zeus.
Okay. So, in my opinion, who would go straight into F tier because he is literally the worst.
I definitely would agree. Like, let's go through all of his various terrible things he's done.
Not only to his like mortal kids, like the demigods, to Apollo. Like the whole series is him going through his daddy issues because he's messed him up so much. He is literally the worst dad in existence. And not to mention a horrible person overall because all of his myths, super problematic, but just no.
He needs to get Me Too'd, and he gets thrown in the trash can of F tier. And also the fact that like he was so apathetic to, spoiler alert by the way, spoiler alert. He's super apathetic about Jason's death, and that just bothers me so much. Like Hera in Tower of Near, she confronts him. She's like, "You didn't even care," and he's like, "What do you expect me to do?" And she's like, "At least show some feeling about this." He did nothing, absolutely nothing. He's just the worst dad. He only met Jason once. Like I forget how many times he's met Thalia. It's definitely enough to count on one hand. But
yeah, and he still allowed her to die and turn into a tree. I mean, the tree thing was nice to help everyone else later, but he could have intervened before that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the thing about like some of these gods is almost all of them are absentee parents, but at least most of them check in on their kids and like are watching them and watching their progress and sometimes send help or guidance or clues or special magical items they'll need later in the quest. But this guy, like Zeus, he doesn't even watch. He doesn't care at all.
And especially, it's not like he has like 100 kids like some of the other gods do. He literally has, how many does he have? He has 2. So
one now.
What is his excuse? Yeah, 1 now. So absolutely no excuse.
0 excuse. So yeah, he goes in the trash tier. Next up we have Poseidon.
Okay.
He's a little better. Like, honestly, this is kind of a hot take, but I don't think he belongs in the higher tiers because, like, he's still absentee. Like,
that's true.
He shows up, and, like, he's nice when he's there, but he's still not there.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because he does help when Percy asks for help, kind of, but he never, like, offers it when he needs it. And it took him a while to, like, actually show himself to Percy, so...
Yeah.
But like, we do have to say that he's a good dad to at least Tyson because, like, kind of, you know, he showed him the way to Percy, at least, so that was nice.
Yeah. And also, like, he's made the offer to Percy. He's like, hey, if you want to live in my palace in the underwaters, you can. And Percy's like, no thanks. So, like, if Percy wanted to, he could move in with his dad, but he just chooses not to. But at the same time, like I said, he's absentee, and, like, I don't want to diminish the really good parents out there, like, because there are some good godly parents that are actually very actively involved. We're coming up on them soon. I think he should go in C tier.
Okay, yeah. I agree because the bar can't be too low, so we have to have standards.
Exactly. So like I think like a nice C tier right in the middle kind of reflects how on one hand he's he's a cool guy, you know, but on the other hand, he's also like absent, and he does offer help, but not all that often, and he does check in, but he doesn't really get involved, and, you know, it's complicated like that. So I think C tier is good for him. Next, we have the MVP, Hades.
Is that Hades? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Poor dude. Is this official art?
This is from the comics.
Oh my god. They did him dirty.
Yeah. Like, he didn't have any Viria art, so I went for I went for this. 'Cause I think it's funny also. It's a great pick.
It is. It's great. I love it.
So, this is kind of another hot take that I have.
Ooh,
but,
okay.
like, a lot of people say, like, he's top tier dad, but I'm like, is he though? Okay, on the plus sides, he's involved from, like, his kids' birth. Like, he was involved in, like, Nico and Bianca's lives from a very, very young age. And the only reason he stayed out was because they had to keep that secret, because Zeus.
Yeah.
But the downside is pretty much the entirety of the last Olympian. First off, he tries to kill Percy, who Hades knew that Nico had a crush on him. Like, it's implied in Blood of Olympus, where he's like, oh, you always were, like, bugging me out, Percy this, Percy that, you know, and Nico's like, well, I did it because the world was in danger. I didn't do it all for him. And Hades is like, I can fathom the possibility you acted for multiple reasons.
Sure.
Anyways, yeah, in Last Olympian, first off, he tries to kill Percy, his son's crush. Then again, he did it because he wanted Nico to be the hero of the prophecy, so he'd get more appreciation. But, and also he did it because he wanted the glory of having a kid who saved the world. But it's like kind of selfish move, but also like, and it's complicated. And also, he tried to kill Nico that one time because Nico was like bugging him about like, help Percy, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna kill you. And he's like, Nico is like, he's one bad boyo. He's like, you go ahead, kill me. That's exactly what the other gods would expect you to do. Prove them right. Prove them that you're the monster they think you are. And I'm like, bro, Nico, you're 12. He's a legend.
What an icon.
And then there was also, he was upset about Bianca's death, and he took it out on poor Nico. He actually said to him, he's like, it would have been better if your sister had lived.
Yeah.
Like, that's gotta hurt.
That's pretty rough. Pretty rough.
Yeah. But at the same time, he's so much more involved. Like, he uses his godly power to help his kids. Like, he's not involved with Hazel because he can't acknowledge her, or else she'll be brought back to the underworld. But, like, that's a separate case.
Yeah. You have very, very good arguments. You've convinced me. Like, I do think he's a better father than most, especially because he was one of the only gods, I feel like, that truly fell in love with the mortal before having the kids. And he had 2 kids, so he obviously really liked her because he stuck around.
Yeah.
But, that 5th book, though, he kind of took it out on Percy and Nico a little bit too much. So I think somewhere around the middle is a good place for him.
Yeah.
I don't know if we should put him next to Poseidon or not. I'm not sure.
I feel conflicted because I feel like he's better than Poseidon because at least he's involved and helps his kids frequently. And, like, he was actually there for their upbringing. So, like...
True. Okay.
I think B tier.
Yeah, you've convinced me. B tier is good.
Like, on a human scale, bad. But, like...
Oh, yeah, very bad.
Next, we got our boy. Our boy, Apollo.
So for this one, I would say, if you'd asked me this, like, 5 years ago, I would say he's not a very good dad, because we don't ever see him interacting with his kids until the Trials of Apollo, I think. Yeah. But when he goes through all the stuff he goes through in the Trials of Apollo, he actually gets to room with his kids and, like, bond with them. So I think that turned him into a much better dad. So I think he deserves at least A tier as he is right now.
Yeah. I'm thinking S tier.
S tier? Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Because, like...
I can see that.
I think the big deciding thing is what he decides to do after he becomes a god again. And he decides to use his power to spend time with his kids, and he's like, I could split my form into multiple pieces. So he decides to actually spend time with his kids. He actually uses his power to help them, or he tries to. Like, when Nico and Will were talking about going to Tartarus, he's like, I wish I could help you, but I can't because that's not my domain. I would if I could. When he talks about like demigods going on quests, he makes it sound like he wants to actually help them and be involved. He's a dad who spends time with his kids, he wants to bond with them and get to know them, and he expresses genuine remorse for how he's been, and he also is using his godly power to help them. So I think as a godly parent that's like S tier.
That's true. Okay. Yeah, I agree. He went through so much character development that he truly deserves to be up there.
Oh yeah. I think he's earned the S tier. Like, this is as good of a godly parent as we're gonna get.
Yeah. True.
So the next one we have is Artemis, who's not a parent, but like as a leader of this group, she basically is their mom. And I wanted to have all the Olympians in this. Oh, sorry for all you Magnus Chase fans. I only did the Olympians
because
I didn't want the video to be too long.
If we started doing that and the Egyptians god, this would be like 100 hours long. So
yeah,
I think that's a good choice.
I don't think the Egyptians sired any.
Oh, true. Yeah. I always forget that they have like a different system. They like possess people instead of having demigods. A way better system.
Speaking of which, this is a bit of a side tangent, but isn't it so, like, Kane Chronicles has the weirdest resolution to a love triangle I've ever seen.
Oh my god, I just remembered.
Like,
that was weird.
She's like, do I choose between this mortal boy or this god? And then the god's like, I'll possess the mortal boy, so then you can date both.
I mean, at least everyone was happy in the end, I guess.
Yeah,
Good
but
for her.
I can't, honestly, I can't support that. Like, she's 12. A 12-year-old dating
Oh, true. But yeah, I also don't really like when people ship. It's usually younger girls with any of the gods or entities. It's too weird.
I can understand Sadie being attracted to a god because she doesn't fully understand things. It's kind of like a kid being attracted to their teacher. But if the teacher's attracted to the 12-year-old kid who has not yet gone through puberty fully, like, no.
Yeah.
Stop.
No, thank you.
Anyways, Artemis.
I would honestly put her in S tier because she's the best and we love her.
Yeah.
Wow, both of the twins are up there. Nice.
Look at that. I love that. Good for them. But yeah, Artemis, she's involved, very involved.
Extremely involved.
I think if I could say any downsides is that, like, if you think of the hunters as her children, her love is conditional. You have to follow her rules, and if you don't, you're out. But I think with Apollo, he has unconditional love for his kids. But I think Artemis's conditional love for them is a bit of a downside. And I want this list to have people in each tier, so maybe we should jump her down to A.
Yeah, put her in A for now, and if we don't find anyone else for S, maybe we can bump her up again.
Yeah. Hermes.
Oh, Hermes. Cute.
He doesn't have any Viria art, so I just went with that's from Percy Jackson's Greek gods. He was such a bad parent that he caused most of the conflict in the original series.
But I feel like he felt more remorse about that than most of the other gods would have if they'd been in his situation.
Yeah.
Like, he did try to help Luke in the end after he caused the whole thing. But, I don't know, he'd be, like, D tier for me.
I agree. He was, like, so negligent with his kids. It's, like, kind of horrifying when, like, I'm stumbling. I don't know what I'm saying.
It's okay.
In The Last Olympian, we see flashbacks, and Luke is talking to Hermes. He's like, look, Dad, I lived in this horrible, abusive household with this mother who was insane and terrified me and would go into these, like, screaming fits, and it was horrifying. I was just living in this nightmare, and you could have done something, but you didn't. And, like, I can only imagine growing up in an abusive household and then learning that your father is an all-powerful deity who can do anything, and to learn that he did nothing.
Yeah. Poor Luke, man.
Once Luke went to the dark side, Hermes did try to help him, and see Monsters, he has that little thing about you can never give up on family, and I'm like, dude, nice coming from you.
Yeah. Also, this has nothing to do with him being, like, a dad, but he was pretty horrible to Annabeth, and, like, making it seem like it was her fault, when it was literally his fault for being, like, a bad dad. It's like, Annabeth is here being 14 years old, She does not have to care about what your psycho son is doing, okay? That's on you.
Facts.
Honestly, maybe E.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely not as bad as Zeus, because he's the worst, but...
Hermes at least was sad when his son died.
Exactly. The bar is so low.
Zeus could not have cared less.
No.
So then we have Athena.
Okay. I don't know. Okay, first, you go first. What do you think?
I think she's a very irresponsible parent, obviously. I think the biggest downside for her was two things. First off, when she was going through that like conflict with the Greek and Roman side and she took out that frustration on Annabeth. That's not acceptable. But at the same time, like, parents, you know, have weak points. And as far as I know, she's only like yelled at Annabeth once. But it was pretty bad. And she never apologized for it because she thinks that she is a perfect, all-wise being. And the other downside is Athena, she's a virgin goddess. So she just meets these guys, has an intellectual conversation with them. She's like, I think they're big brain. I like this guy. I'm just going to gift him with a child that
what a great gift.
did. Like, I feel so bad for poor Frederick Chase. He just meets this lady, has an intellectual conversation, does nothing with her, and he's like, here's a child you didn't want. And like, that's setting up those poor kids to fail, growing up in households where they are unwanted.
True.
And yeah, Frederick, he adapted, but like, her family planning skills are horrible.
Horrible. That's true. I hadn't thought of that. That's a very good point. And besides that, I also think that Annabeth is literally the only child of Athena who Athena pays attention to.
Yeah.
In all of the series. And there's a lot of children of Athena. We know that because they're always mentioned. There's a lot of them. So what is this favoritism? Why did you pick your favorite? Like, when Annabeth was basically 12, she was already better than all her siblings in Athena's eyes. So, not great, not great. So,
but would she leave her children in an abusive household?
If she'd led Annabeth into finding Luke and Talia, or at least Camp Half-Blood, that would be, good, but she literally didn't, so...
She's a goddess who's like, I let my kids fight their own battles, even if they die in the process.
Then, that takes her down so much.
I think E tier.
Yeah. I like Athena, but oof.
Next we have Ares.
I don't like him as a dad. I like Mars, but I don't like Ares. Because wasn't he kind of abusive towards Clarice? When he was talking to her, like, being super mean to her, so, no.
Yeah, I think F tier.
Yeah, okay. I can vibe with that. Definitely F tier.
To go through Ares is the terrible things he's done with his children. First off, we see from Clarice that he puts all this pressure on them to be great heroes and bring him pride and honor, and he puts that terrible pressure on them, and then when the godly Greek-Roman conflict was happening, at least Athena had one meltdown in front of Annabeth. Ares just decided, I'm just going to take all of this out on Frank. And for all we know, he took this out on other kids too. So that's just terrible.
I always forget that happened to Frank, but yeah, poor guy.
Poor guy. Like, he felt like he was going insane for a while.
Damn, that's definitely down there.
He yells at his kids, he puts all this pressure on them, he's selfish, he takes out his frustrations on them. He's just the worst. Mars, at least, has this one nice conversation with Frank about, like, honor and all that. But that's Mars, and it's also one conversation.
Yeah. so, not enough.
Aphrodite.
Ooh, I am not sure about this one. At least better than E and F tier. She didn't start that rule where you have to break someone's heart, right? That was just her own kids doing that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. She kind of made Piper feel like she had to be someone else just because she was the daughter of the goddess of love and beauty, so...
I don't know. I think she always would accept Piper as who she was. She's like, I think the Lost here tries to redeem her a little more and like paint her as like not just this like self-absorbed goddess, but she's also about loving yourself and being confident and finding beauty and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, she also has a narrow idea of what beauty is and like, I feel like she pays attention to her kids. She's very loving, obviously.
Obviously.
She tries to help in her own ways. She's not the best mom, but she definitely does try. So I think D tier.
Okay, wait. I'm trying to remember. Does she ever mention Selena at all?
Maybe.
Poor Selena. But yeah, okay, D tier. That sounds good. Yeah.
Hephaestus.
Ooh, Hephaestus. I feel like, isn't he pretty chill from what I remember?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So recently I reread the scene where Leo meets him for the first time.
In like that dream sequence?
Yeah. And it's pretty wholesome. Like, he's just a really socially awkward guy who's really insecure and bad with people. But he's like, yeah, I pay attention to literally all my children. He has like big screens up with like all of them, and he's always watching them and paying attention. He doesn't get involved though.
That's true. But I feel like he's a pretty good dude. Remember, wasn't he the only one that kind of like visited Calypso on her island?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I feel like he's very awkward and doesn't know how to handle people, but at least when he does, he's a nice guy. So when he's there, he's there. I would say like middle tier.
I'm gonna cheat a little here. I think I'm gonna put him between C and D.
That sounds good.
Right there. He can just hang out there.
Yeah, not great, but also not like a bad guy. So.
Oh
my God, that picture.
It's from the comics, the graphic novels, because he has no official Viria art.
She needs to get on that because this is unacceptable.
Honestly, I think if this is a good representation of the man.
That's true.
Leopard print, coke, looks kind of drunk.
Yep.
He's just apathetic, mostly. There is that scene in The Last Olympian where two of his kids, the twins, Castor and... Well, I think only one of the twins dies.
Yeah,
Castor
in
and Pollux.
The Battle of the Labyrinth.
Yeah, one of his kids dies, and in Last Olympian we see that he's actually like really upset. But once again, I mean, he is there, but he's not. He's forced to be there.
Thinking. He is there, but would he be there if he wasn't forced by Zeus to be at Camp Half-Blood?
No.
I'm thinking maybe not.
Definitely not. And he doesn't really seem to particularly... It's not like at Camp Half-Blood he has father-son-daughter bonding moments.
No.
He's just there. He's just pretty apathetic. He gets bummed out when they die, but that's about it. I think E tier, because...
Yeah. Fair enough.
He's just apathetic. He does nothing. He's the ultimate deadbeat dad. He just doesn't really seem to care a whole lot, except when they die.
He spends more time with Chiron than any of his kids, so...
Then we have Demeter.
Ooh, okay. I'm also conflicted on this one. I was kind of thinking about it before today, and I feel like towards Persephone, she's like a very protective mom, but that can also come off as overprotective and overbearing. But I feel like at least she cares about her children.
And when it comes to her demigod children, she's just not involved at all. Between D and E, I think like putting her right in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where she belongs, in between. What do you think so?
Yeah. She needs to work on stuff with her kids because she could be a great mom, but...
She could, yeah.
But she's just not.
She has this bias towards her godly daughter.
Yeah.
And finally, we have a bonus one, Hera. No demigod children, but first off, she's got her godly children, and in The Lost Hero, a lot of people seem to forget this, but in The Lost Hero it said that, see, like when Jason was born, she was all upset because this lady had two kids with the same, because Zeus had the same, She was all upset because Zeus had two kids with the same woman, and she wanted to kill Jason, and Zeus made a compromise. He said, hey, you've always wanted to have demigod children of your own, and you haven't been able to, so how about you keep this one for yourself? He can be your kid. And what she decides to do with Jason as her unofficial child is just, first of all, she doesn't, it's not like she visits him or sees him or does anything motherly. She just controls his life and uses him like a Barbie doll. It just plays around with him, moving him from place to place and saying, and here's your girlfriend, and here's your best friend. And just, and also, we can't forget the fact that when her son Hephaestus was born, she thought that he was so ugly that she threw him down the stairs of Mount Olympus and crippled him. She thought she killed him. She was trying to kill him because he was
Poor
ugly.
Hephaestus. Poor child. So, yeah, some pretty good arguments there. I feel like she is very manipulative, especially in The Lost Hero. The Lost Hero? Yes, The Lost Hero. She goes completely bonkers. And I feel like she's a good mom to her favorite kids, like Ares and Apollo. But wait, she's not Apollo's mom.
No,
Never
Apollo's
mind.
her
To
stepson.
Ares.
She hates him.
But, like, no, she could be a good mom, but she chooses not to because she's a very bitter person. I mean, she has right to be. She's married to Zeus, but she shouldn't take that out on her children. Definitely not someone like poor Hephaestus. He literally, all he did was be born ugly. Like, that's probably your fault.
Your bad genes.
Exactly. He couldn't do anything about it.
I think she belongs in between E and F tier because I think F tier is reserved for the people who don't care if their children live or die.
True. And she does care if they die, at least.
Yeah, like she was crying and in mourning for like months after Jason died.
Yeah.
Like we see in Mount Olympus, it's been like a few months, I think. At least a month.
Yeah,
definitely more than a month. And she's still crying and in mourning, and she loved him even though she was bad at loving. And I think F tier is reserved for the people who just don't care at all.
So Zeus. Yeah, that seems right. She's right next to her husband.
I think like in between, you know, because she does kind of somewhat care in her own messed up way.
Very messed up way.
So that was the godly parent tier list. I hope y'all enjoyed. Comment below if you disagree with anything.
Ooh, yes,
we love
please do.
comments. Get up that viewer engagement. Go subscribe to Unclaimed Demigod. Links below. Hope y'all enjoyed. I love y'all. Okay, bye.